Alright. Hello, my fellow mushy blobs of earth dirt. My name is Hans, father of the plants, always hoarding all the teal bricks, and berserk for Legos. Today I want to show you guys a remock of the City Square Tram, or as I like to call it, autonomous public transport, teal brick style. So kick back, tape your eyelids open so you don't blink, and let's ride. Alright, and every remock has an origin story. You might recognize this as a heavily modified tram from 60097 City Square, released in 2015. And it's an awesome little tram, and what really sets it apart is the curved windows on the side of it. Great use of those window pieces, and the rounded window pieces gave it a nice modern shape to it. And a lot of people really like that tram. Quite a few people actually modded it to work with the old monorail track, and others have extended it, they've added more cars to it, made it longer, put it on train tracks, and have included it into their awesome Lego cities. Now, Lego has also come out with a newer tram in 60271, the main square set, which is a yellow tram, which is using a fairly new train mold on the front. And that's actually a pretty good looking little tram in itself. So why did I remock it, you may ask? Well, seating capacity is one of the primary ones. And it's something that's always kind of bugged me in large public transportation sets. It's just like, oh hey, here's a train or here's a tram, but it only has 2 seats. Or I'm exaggerating, but I mean it's only got like 4 seats. You know, in real life, you know, trains can hold 20 or 30 people. You know, I mean the discrepancy is huge. My first main goal was to see if I could get more seats in there. My other main goal was to add doors. Now the tram as is, the way it came, it didn't have doors, and basically, and the windows are attached to the tram on the hinges at the very top, and then the whole side of the tram just swings up. That was great for playability for kids, and you can put your minifigures in there. However, there was no realistic entrance for minifigures to get in there. So I really wanted to add doors. And the third thing was I really wanted to add a pass-through from one car to the next, so that minifigures could walk from the first car in the tram to the next one. And then also, something I always like to try and fix is the holes or air gaps where there's a hinge mechanism on the roof of a vehicle or a building. To me, it's just like, oh no, rain could get in there. This doesn't keep rain out. Alright, so if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that I'm planning on building a Lego city. I've named it Paradisa City, and it is a tropical city set in the future in the year 2060. And it's got a lot of things that are futuristically advanced about it. They're all electric autonomous cars. It has different levels of roads and transportation. And if you haven't seen some of my previous videos, I definitely recommend going to watch my video on the road plates for Paradisa City. And I actually talk about 3 out of 5 of my modes of transportation within Paradisa City. And one of those being an underground network of autonomous roadways where only fully autonomous vehicles are allowed to operate down there, with some minor exceptions. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that the way I built this, I don't consider this to be a tram, even though it started off as a tram in the set itself, and it looks very much like a tram. But the way I consider this to be is that it's more of a fully autonomous sort of long bus or public transport, and it just has regular wheels and it can drive on regular roadways. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that are creating concepts and actual autonomous vehicles for public transport. A big one that comes to mind is the Toyota E-Pallete. There's also a autonomous public transport vehicle by Cruise. VW has come up with a couple of concepts like the Edge or the Cedric, and the Baidu brand in China has also unveiled a public transport. And those are a lot smaller than this, but it basically overlaps in the same way that they operate. Okay, so this autonomous tram bus, yeah, I'm gonna call it an autonomous tram bus. So this autonomous tram bus is fully electric. It's also fully autonomous. As you can see here, this is my LiDAR, radar, and 5G computer connection, and it communicates with the autonomous road network computer that it operates in the city autonomous roadways. So at every intersection in the underground autonomous roadways, there will be a 5G connected traffic monitor that is operated by a highly sophisticated machine learning artificial intelligence computer that basically helps coordinate all the traffic within Paradisa City. At every intersection, there are no red lights, green lights. There's no stopping at intersections. All vehicles will either speed up or slow down based on the direction of the traffic controller in combination with their own onboard machine learning AI. And so all the autonomous vehicles will just zip right through intersections, weaving it in and out of each other and never hitting each other. And of course, this being a public transportation, these will be monitored remotely in the main transportation hub of the city. And if there were any other sort of emergency situation, this could be remotely controlled manually by an operator. All right, and one of the things you'll notice is it's no longer orange. Yeah, I was making all these remock changes and it was still orange. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm low on orange pieces, so why don't I just convert it to my favorite color, teal and white. point. I like how the color scheme came out. The other thing is that it's still got the wheels, so it drives around like a normal car or a vehicle on regular city roads. Now, the primary modes of transportation in Paradisa City are basically walkable. Now, this particular mode of transportation really comes in handy when the weather outside is really bad. Paradisa City is designed to be a walkable and bicycle and scooter city. That's going to be the primary mode of transportation in a local region. And then there is another type of mode of transportation which I haven't unveiled yet, and is designed for very long distances, say like from one end of the city to the other, or from one city to the next city, or several cities over, you know? So the purpose of this one is mostly if the weather outside is really bad where you can't use a bicycle or a scooter, you know, hop on an autonomous go-kart, then what you do is you go downstairs into the subterranean level where the autonomous roads are, and you take this tram bus. All right, and the other thing that you'll notice is that I've made it 8 studs wide plus some change. Yeah, these plates on the side actually make it a little bit wider. It's actually almost 9 studs wide if you want to include these plates, but the chassis or the base is 8 studs wide. And that was to help me achieve my goal of getting more seats in there. So it's got 2 rows of seats on either side. It's got a central aisle, which I'll show in a minute, but I really want to talk about proportionality. Now, I don't plan on going too far outside the realm of minifigure scale where everything is compactified. In a school bus, for example, a real school bus, you have a middle aisle, and then you've got these seats where you can fit 2 people on either side of the aisle on a seat. And if I was to build a Lego bus to that scale, it would be 12 studs wide, and that's ridiculous. I don't want to do that. I like the minifigure scale. However, Lego's default scale for buses, trains, and light rail trams are 6 studs wide, which can't even fit 2 rows of seating. And I really think Lego needs to bump the scale of these up to the 8 studs wide. They bumped the scale of the Lego vehicles and cars to 6 studs wide in the early 2000s, but they kept the trains the same. And in reality, trains are wider than even big industrial trucks, and definitely cars for sure. So I don't want to go out of control and make trains and stuff like 10 or 12 studs wide, but I think making them 8 studs wide is reasonable enough where you can get a little more room for your minifigures to do stuff, add more details and features and functionality without blowing up the whole scale of things. Because to me, 6 studs wide for buses and trams and trains is just too narrow. In fact, the new yellow tram on 60271 Main Square looks really pinched and narrow to me. So having said that, I wanted to introduce you guys to my designated protocols for vehicle scale. In my previous video of the Palace Cinema limo, I talked about the proportional scale of the wheels to the vehicles, but in this video, I also want to talk about the overall scale of the vehicles within regards to the minifigures as well as within each other. So like I said, I think trains and trams should be 8 studs wide. I would really like to see airplanes that are 12 studs wide. I can't really do that because the fuselage pieces that they have designed for airplanes are only 8 studs wide. But I think it would be completely awesome if they could make us fuselage pieces that are 12 studs wide. I know they'll never do that. It's too expensive for them to create large molded pieces like that. And of course, there's also a bunch of in the Lego community who are very anti large molded pieces. However, I would love to see that. Now, the next step down is 7 studs wide, and I think that large shipping and industrial trucks with their trailers, I think the shipping trailers should be 7 studs wide, and 7 studs wide maximum on the outside. Right now, you can pretty much only fit 4 studs wide into a 6 stud wide trailer. Now, currently all the heavy industrial vehicles are only 6 studs wide, and it doesn't mean that all industrial vehicles should be 7 studs wide in my scale of things, because there are compact industrial vehicles, you know, like smaller cabs, and compact industrial truck cabs do exist. So rather than wanting to convert this to something, say like 7 studs wide, what I'm doing is that in Paradisa City, it don't need to be a full size, and since it's a city of the future, and in the future, having such large vehicles may not even be necessary. And in fact, because of the density of the city, having a smaller cab for large industrial vehicles actually makes a lot of sense. So if this were real life, today's fire trucks are 7 studs wide, but in Paradisa City, they've scaled down to a 6 stud, more compact cab. And so I think that's a great way of making sense of the differences in scale. Now, some things I do convert to 7 studs wide. This camping trailer, awesome example. I converted this to 7 studs wide just to have more interior space. I've also converted both of my red Lego buses to 7 studs wide. Look forward to a video on those coming up in the near future. And I am reserving 6 studs wide for for pickup trucks and SUVs and cars. And this here is a compact sport SUV. And here's another example of a car that is 6 studs wide. And this is pretty standard that fits in what LEGO has been doing. They still give us vehicles that are 4 studs wide. It really does not make any sense to me that they keep giving us stretch limos that are only 4 studs wide. Those cars should be definitely 6 studs wide. And then for cars that are very compact, very small cars, say like a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla or a Volkswagen Jetta, I'm reserving these to be for 5 studs wide. And so this is a mock I did of a car that is 5 studs wide. Now, these aren't easy to pull off. It's a lot of trickery in the how to arrange all the pieces in there. And it would be really beneficial if LEGO were to make like 5 stud wide chassis. And what I would really, really love is for a window that is 5 studs wide but tapers inward to be 4 studs wide at the top. Oh, that would be so cool. That is a huge dream of mine. Okay, and 4 studs wide, I reserve that for small micro cars, like single passenger micro cars, as well as ATVs. These would be 4 studs wide. And one thing I forgot to mention in my last video is I do the wheel conversions on ATVs to this wheel size. The wheels that they keep putting on the ATVs are like full-size car wheels, and those are just way out of proportion. I think it even looks better with these wheels. Here's another example of a little ATV with these wheels. And for 3 studs wide, no, I'm just kidding. I don't have anything for 3 studs wide. So a super quick summary or recap. I think full-size airplanes would be awesome if they were 12 or 10 studs wide fuselage, and trains I think should be 8 studs wide. I think buses and shipping containers and shipping trailers and even some industrial shipping trucks can be 7 studs wide. Camping trailers can be 7 studs wide. And then I think for compact industrial shipping trucks, those can be 6 studs wide. Regular pickup trucks can be 6 studs wide. And cars should be 6 studs wide. Compact cars are 5 studs wide. And then only the micro cars would be 4 studs wide. All right, let's dig into the details. So I already explained the wheels and I already explained the 8 stud wide scale of this. And so let me talk about how I reverse the windows. I wanted to reverse the windows, one which was to help give me more room for the seats inside, but the other reason was to get rid of those holes where the hinges were so it could be completely sealed off. I really like how switching this around gave it a wide base and a nice slope going up the side of it, and it looked good. I think the windows going the other way also looked good as well. And here you can see the inside where I've got 8 seats for the minifigures. They can even stand up in the very middle of the aisle to get even more people in there. Another thing you'll notice is that there's no driver seat. This is fully autonomous. There's no need for a driver, and that actually enables me to add 2 more seats in there. However, I would have liked to get the seats on a 3 stud spacing intervals, and I wasn't able to do that, and that's because of these windows. And I was really annoyed about that. Yeah, I wish I could have gotten I was really bummed. I could have gotten an extra pair of seats in there if it hadn't been for these windows. And what it is that the side profile of these windows ends up hitting the chairs as well as the minifigure's arms when this window is fully closed. And going over to the other main feature, I have doors on either side. So the minifigures can easily have access getting onto the tram bus. It's even nice because it even has a step. They just go up 2 steps on the frame there. And because this is nice and low to the ground, is within a reasonable scale of a stair step to get up onto there. They don't have to jump 3 minifigure feet up into the air just to get on board, like a lot of the city vehicles that LEGO makes. So the other consideration was the fact that, okay, I've got doors on here, and doors are actually just flat or straight panels, but these are curved windows. So I had to come up with a nifty little way to kind of blend the 2 opposing profiles with each other. So I came up with a way to angle this door. You can see that I've got the 8 studs wide down here at the bottom, and then up here at the top it's only 6 studs wide. I'm using some plates with bars and some plates with clips on them to snap that on there, and it basically just angles down. So it's not attached at the bottom, so it is a little bit risky, you know, if you were to play around and push down on that. So I'm really happy with how the door came out, and basically this thing just cruises along on the roadways and anybody can pretty much hop on. So moving it around to the front, because I made this 8 studs wide, I had to increase the width of the bumper. I like how this came out. I like this little groove feature on either side. I'm using my favorite LEGO piece, which is the 1x2 curve slope, whatever you want to call it, with the cut off corner right there. And really happy to use these pieces. Really like having the teal color stripes going along the top of it. And I like that I could still include this piece. Now, in regards to the structure, it is obviously supported in the back here by this door frame here. And then running across the top is a solid build. But then over here, I consider this to be a pretty weak connection because it's only held down by 4 horizontal studs. So without these windows in place, if you were to push down on this too hard, I imagine it could probably pop this loose and then it would be pretty catastrophic. So when you close these windows, it does provide a little bit of structure because they tuck under this top piece pretty nicely. I also liked having included this. I really wish I could have gone studless, but overall I still like this really sleek shape to it. All right, now for the little middle car. I really hollowed it out so that the Lego minifigures could walk all the way through to go from this car to the next one. So I ended up rebuilding it pretty much from the ground up. I kind of like how this came out. I was able to find these curved slopes that actually match the profile of that window. Again, I liked using these little 1x2 curved slopes with the corners cut off right there. I did make it a wee bit too wide, and it pretty much limits the turning radius of the tram by itself. It ends up having to take a really large arch. So this thing cannot go around tight corners at all, but it looks cool. So in the original set, this was designed to hold bicycles for minifigures. The way I figure is that, on a lot of trams, the minifigures can just kind of stand up in the entry area or even in here and just hold their bicycle. I wouldn't mind trying to come up with a way for bicycles to mount vertically up in here. Now, I'm sure a lot of you with your keen eyes have probably noticed my upside down stickers. And yes, that is something I'll need to fix in the near future using my unpatented hot coffee technique. Insert sound of arrow falling out of target, which I think is a slightly better technique than the patented hot tea technique. And that's probably just me because I drink a lot of coffee. So on my to-do list, unpatented hot coffee technique, move these stickers, flip them around, move them up, and then put them on other cars. All right, Autonomous Tram Bus unveiled. Stay tuned for my Palace Cinema video coming out next weekend. Go check out my video on the road plates where you learn about Paradisa City, City of the Future with futuristic roads and transportation. And I hope you guys really like this video. Go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. Leave some comments. Let me know what you think of my futuristic tram bus. Have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the flip side. And I'm off to edit this video.